The morning sun glinted off Lake Pleasant like scattered diamonds. I gripped my premium fishing rod, scanning the shoreline for the perfect spot. This competition meant everything. Winner takes home 50 grand and a sponsorship deal. "Excuse me, that's my spot." A voice cut through my concentration. I turned to face the most striking woman I'd ever seen. Tall, athletic, with windswept blonde hair and piercing green eyes that matched the lake's depths. "I don't see your name on it," I shot back, planting my gear firmly. "Been fishing this spot for years." "Well, I've won 3 tournaments here." She crossed her arms, her fitted sports jacket highlighting toned muscles. "Name's Natalie. Jessica Cooper, and I'm not moving." I started setting up my gear, pretending my heart wasn't racing from our proximity. The morning progressed into a silent battle. Every time I cast my line, she'd cast hers slightly further. When I switched lures, she'd counter with a better choice. The tension crackled between us like static before a storm. "Your technique's all wrong," she finally said, watching me struggle with a particularly tricky cast. "You're fighting the wind." "Oh, really?" I raised an eyebrow. "Care to demonstrate?" She stepped closer, her perfume mixing with the lake's crisp air. "Here." Her hands covered mine on the rod, adjusting my grip. "Feel the rhythm of the water." Time seemed to slow as she guided my movements. The line sailed out perfectly, landing exactly where I wanted. Something shifted between us in that moment, the competition falling away like morning mist. We spent the next hours trading fishing stories and techniques. She told me about growing up in California, learning to fish from her grandfather. I shared tales of my volunteer work at the Disability Center. When the competition horn blared, we both jumped. I'd completely forgotten about winning. Somehow we'd both caught our limit, ending in a tie for first place. "Split the prize," she suggested, grinning as we walked toward the judges' table. "Only if you'll let me buy you dinner," I heard myself say. The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Her smile widened, sending warmth through my chest. "I'd like that, but first." She gestured to our shared fishing spot. "Same time tomorrow? For practice?" "Wouldn't miss it." I watched her walk away, her confident stride making my pulse quicken. Something told me this was more than just the beginning of a fishing partnership. The late afternoon sun painted the lake gold as I packed up my gear. Other competitors were already leaving, but I lingered, replaying every moment of our encounter. Who would have thought my biggest competition would become my biggest distraction? I couldn't wait for tomorrow. For the first time in years, fishing wasn't the main reason I was eager to return to Lake Pleasant. Sometimes the best catches come when you're not even trying. The awards ceremony buzzed with excitement, but I couldn't take my eyes off Natalie. She stood confidently at the podium, our shared first-place trophy gleaming between us. That's when the announcer dropped the bombshell. "Let's give an extra round of applause for Natalie Flores, our Paralympic swimming champion." My jaw dropped. The athletic grace I'd admired suddenly made perfect sense. She caught my surprised look and winked, making my cheeks flush. After the ceremony, I cornered her by the refreshment table. "Paralympic champion? Were you planning to mention that?" "Didn't want to intimidate you more than I already had," she laughed, reaching for a water bottle. Her sleeve rode up, revealing a sophisticated prosthetic arm I hadn't noticed before. "Besides, I prefer people knowing me for my fishing skills first." "Well, now I feel even more special about our tie," I grinned, then hesitated before adding, "I actually work at the Mesa Disability Center." Her eyes lit up. "The one on Roosevelt Street? I've been meaning to check it out. We're always looking for experienced athletes to inspire our members." The words tumbled out eagerly. "Maybe you could stop by?" That's how I found myself giving Natalie a tour the following Tuesday. She moved through the center like a ray of sunshine, sharing stories with everyone we met. The kids in our youth program were especially captivated. "And then the shark just swam right past me," she gestured dramatically, making the children giggle. I leaned against the doorframe watching her hold court. Something warm bloomed in my chest. We started spending more time together after that. She'd drop by during my shifts, helping with swimming lessons. I'd join her training sessions, learning more about Paralympic sports than I'd ever known existed. One evening, we stayed late organizing equipment for an upcoming event. The sunset painted the center's windows orange and pink. Natalie was telling me about her first swimming competition when she suddenly stopped. "You're staring," she said softly. "Sorry, it's just..." I stepped closer, drawn by some invisible force. "You're incredible." The air between us crackled with possibility. She moved closer, her hand finding mine. Time seemed to slow, then stop completely as our lips met. The kiss was gentle at first, then deeper, carrying all the unspoken words we'd been holding back. When we finally pulled apart, the room had grown dark. Natalie's eyes sparkled in the dim light. "I've wanted to do that since the lake," she whispered. "Even when I was stealing your fishing spot," I teased. "Especially then." She laughed, pulling me close again. The center's security light flickered on, breaking the moment. We jumped apart like teenagers caught making out, then dissolved into laughter. "Dinner?" I suggested, not ready for the evening to end. "Your place?" she countered, making my pulse race. "I make a mean fish fry." As we walked to our cars, hands linked, I marveled at how naturally it all felt, from competitors to colleagues to something more, all because of one disputed fishing spot. The stars were just beginning to appear overhead, promising more perfect moments to come. Sometimes the best things in life happen when you least expect them. Like finding love while fighting over the perfect catch. Natalie's swimming career fascinated me more with each story she shared. We sat at my favorite coffee shop, her hands animated as she described her journey to the Paralympics. "After the accident, everyone said I'd never compete again," she said, stirring her latte. "That just made me train harder." "Stubborn as always," I teased, reaching across to squeeze her hand. 3 months of dating had taught me that determination was her default setting. "Look who's talking, Miss I won't give up my fishing spot." Her green eyes sparkled with mischief. Our playful moment shattered when my phone buzzed. Mom's name flashed on the screen, making my stomach drop. I'd been avoiding her calls since Natalie and I became official. "Jessica Marie Cooper, why haven't you been answering?" Mom's voice carried that familiar, disapproving tone. "Been busy with work, Mom." I caught Natalie's concerned look. "Well, I'm in Mesa for the weekend. Dinner tonight?" It wasn't really a question. That evening, I paced my apartment while Natalie watched from the couch. Maybe I should cancel. "Hey." She caught my hand, pulling me close. "I can handle one conservative mother." Mom's reaction to finding us together was exactly what I'd feared. Her smile froze, eyes darting between us as I made introductions. "So, you're Jessica's friend?" The pause spoke volumes. "Girlfriend, actually." Natalie's voice remained steady, professional. "Going on 3 months now." The silence stretched like old gum. Mom's fork clinked against her plate, the only sound in my suddenly suffocating dining room. "I see." Mom's lips pressed into a thin line. "And what do your parents think about this?" "They're incredibly supportive of my swimming career and personal life." Natalie's calm response highlighted Mom's obvious disapproval. "Swimming career?" Mom latched onto the safer topic. "Natalie's a Paralympic champion, Mom." I felt pride surge through me. "She's training for her 4th games." The evening deteriorated from there. Every achievement I mentioned about Natalie was met with thinly veiled judgment. By dessert, my hands were shaking with suppressed anger. "I should go," Mom announced after an especially awkward silence. "Jessica, walk me out." At the door, she turned to me. "This isn't like you, honey. What about that nice accountant I introduced you to?" "This is exactly like me, Mom. This is who I am." My voice cracked. "Natalie makes me happy." "You're confused." "No." I cut her off. "I'm in love. If you can't accept that, maybe you shouldn't visit for a while." Back inside, I found Natalie loading the dishwasher. Without a word, she opened her arms. I fell into them, letting out a shaky breath. "I'm so sorry," I whispered against her neck. "Never apologize for being yourself." She pulled back, cupping my face. "You were amazing." The kiss that followed was different from our others, deeper, more urgent. We barely made it to the bedroom, clothes marking a trail behind us. That night, we came together with an intensity that left us breathless, our bodies speaking the words our hearts already knew. Later, tangled in sheets and moonlight, Natalie traced patterns on my skin. "Your mom will come around. And if she doesn't, then we'll make our own family." She kissed my shoulder. "Starting with those kids at the center who already adore you." I snuggled closer, feeling the steady beat of her heart. Maybe Mom would never understand, but lying there with Natalie, I knew I'd found something real, something worth fighting for. The night wrapped around us like a protective cocoon, and I realized home wasn't a place. It was this feeling, this person, this love that had snuck up on me at a fishing competition and changed everything. The call came on a perfect Sunday morning. Natalie and I were lounging on my balcony, sharing coffee and planning our next fishing trip when her phone rang. Her face changed as she listened, color draining away. "What do you mean bankruptcy?" She stood abruptly, pacing. "That's impossible. The accounts were fine last month." I watched helplessly as her world crumbled in real time. Her family's sporting goods business in California, built over 3 generations, was on the brink of collapse. "I have to go back," she said after hanging up, her voice hollow. "Dad's had a mild heart attack from the stress." "For how long?" I tried to keep my voice steady, even as panic clawed at my chest. "I don't know." She ran fingers through her blonde hair, a gesture I'd learned meant she was struggling to maintain control. "Weeks, maybe months." The next few days passed in a blur of hasty preparations. I helped her pack, each folded shirt feeling like another brick in the wall about to separate us. "The Paralympic trials are in 4 months," I reminded her, watching her organize her swimming gear. "You can't give up on that. The business has been in my family since my grandfather started it." She paused, holding her favorite competition swimsuit. "I can't let it fail." The night before her departure, neither of us could sleep. We lay tangled together, memorizing each other's presence. The moonlight painted silver streaks across her skin. "We'll make it work," I whispered, tracing the curve of her shoulder. "I can visit on weekends." "It's a 6-hour drive." She turned to face me, eyes glistening. "You have your work here, the disability center." "We have video calls, texts." I pressed closer, fighting back tears. "Technology's amazing these days." She laughed softly, but it held a note of worry. "Remember our first video call, when I couldn't figure out how to turn off the filters? You made a very cute puppy." I kissed her, tasting salt, whether from my tears or hers I couldn't tell. The goodbye at the airport felt surreal. We stood at the security checkpoint, neither wanting to let go first. "Promise you'll keep training," I said, straightening her jacket collar. "I want to see you on that Paralympic podium." "Promise you'll keep that fishing spot warm for me." She managed a smile, "and send pictures of the sunset over the lake. Every day." I pulled her close one last time, breathing in her familiar scent. "I love you. I love you too." She kissed me deeply, not caring about the curious glances from passing travelers. Watching her walk through security felt like watching part of myself leave. She turned back once, waving, then disappeared into the crowd. The drive home was the longest of my life. Every song on the radio seemed to be about separation or distance. I avoided looking at the passenger seat where she usually sat. That evening, I went to our fishing spot at Lake Pleasant. The sunset painted the water in shades of orange and pink, just like the day we met. I took a picture, adding it to our shared album with the caption, "Day 1 of Missing You." Her response came minutes later, already looking at flights for next weekend. I smiled through my tears, watching the colors fade from the sky. Long-distance relationships were hard, but we'd fought too hard to let geography defeat us. Besides, some connections run deeper than physical presence. Like the pull of the tide, or the changing of seasons, what we had was natural, inevitable. Distance couldn't change that. As stars began appearing over the lake, I made a silent promise. Whatever challenges came our way, we'd face them together, even if together meant being apart for a while. Our first video call started normally enough. Natalie's tired smile filled my screen as she described the mess she'd found in her family's business records. "The numbers don't add up," she said, rubbing her temples. "It's like money's vanishing into thin air." But something felt off. The usual sparkle in her eyes was missing, replaced by an almost artificial gleam. Her movements seemed slightly delayed, out of sync with her words. "Are you using a filter?" I asked, squinting at the screen. "What? No, must be bad connection." The image flickered. "Listen, I need to discuss something important." That's when the messages started appearing in our chat. Links to investment opportunities, cryptocurrency deals, urgent requests for financial help. All supposedly from Natalie, but the tone was all wrong. "Baby, I found a way to save the business," one message read. Just need you to invest in this amazing opportunity. My heart sank. After years of working with scam victims at the center, I recognized the signs. But these messages seemed different, more sophisticated, more personal. I called Natalie immediately. Are you sending me investment links? What? No, I haven't sent anything today. Her voice crackled with concern. My social media is acting weird too. People keep asking about messages I never sent. Over the next few days, the situation worsened. Our private photos started appearing in fake profiles. Intimate conversations we'd shared were twisted into scam attempts targeting our friends. They know things only we discussed on video calls, Natalie said during a late-night phone conversation. Her voice trembled. How is that possible? I spent hours researching, discovering dozens of similar cases. Couples separated by distance, their digital connections hijacked by sophisticated scammers. The final straw came when my mother called, panic in her voice. Jessica, did Natalie really lose her prosthetic in a terrible accident? She's asking for money for surgery. What? No! My stomach churned. Mom, don't send anything. We're being targeted by scammers. That night, I couldn't sleep. Our digital lifeline, the only thing keeping us connected, had become a weapon against us. Every message notification made me jump. Every video call felt compromised. Natalie's Instagram showed her at places she'd never been, promoting products she'd never endorse. The comment section filled with angry people claiming she'd scammed them. I can't take this anymore, she texted. Maybe we should stop communicating online. The thought of losing our daily connection felt like a physical blow. We'd already lost the comfort of physical presence. Now we were losing our virtual intimacy too. We can't let them win, I wrote back. There has to be another way. But trust had become a fragile thing. Every message required verification. Every call started with security questions we'd established. Our spontaneous, loving exchanges became careful, measured interactions. The scammers had done more than steal our digital identities. They'd stolen our peace of mind. Each time Natalie's face appeared on my screen, I found myself wondering if it was really her or another sophisticated fake. Late that night, staring at our last genuine video call recording, I made a decision. These faceless criminals had picked the wrong couple to target. They didn't know about my connections in cybersecurity, or Natalie's determination. We're going to fight back, I texted her. Together. Her response was immediate, always together. The stars outside my window seemed dimmer than usual, but I felt a spark of hope. Love might have made us vulnerable, but it also made us strong. And sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought with fists or weapons, but with trust and determination. Tomorrow we'd start our counterattack. But tonight, I allowed myself to remember simpler times, fishing at sunset, stolen kisses at the center, laughter over coffee. No scammer could steal those memories. The bank's fraud department called on a rainy Tuesday morning. My heart stopped as the representative explained that someone had attempted to withdraw my entire savings. The transfer request came from an IP address in Eastern Europe, she explained. Fortunately, our security flagged it. I sat at my kitchen table, hands shaking around my coffee mug. The scammers had escalated from fake messages to actual theft. The investment scheme they'd created using our identities had already fooled several of our friends. They're getting bolder, Natalie said during our nightly call. Her voice sounded different, strained, distant. Dad's investors are pulling out because of the rumors. What rumors? That the business bankruptcy is fake, that we're running some elaborate scam. She laughed bitterly. The irony is killing me. Distance had never felt more painful. I wanted to hold her, to face this together physically instead of through screens and speakers. The separation was wearing us both down. Maybe I should come visit, I suggested. Just for a weekend. No, she replied too quickly. Things are crazy here. The timing's not right. Something in her tone set off alarm bells. After months together, I knew her rhythms, her patterns. This wasn't my Natalie. I booked a flight to California without telling her. The surprise in her eyes when I showed up at her family's store was genuine, and so was the exhaustion etched on her face. You shouldn't have come, she whispered, but her arms wrapped around me tightly. That night, in her childhood bedroom, walls still covered with swimming medals, we reconnected in ways that messages and video calls couldn't capture. Our bodies remembered what distance had made us forget. Morning brought reality crashing back. Natalie's laptop pinged with another fake investment opportunity using her name. The scammers had even copied her Paralympic photos to create convincing backstories. "I can't keep fighting this," she admitted, curled against me. "Maybe I should stay here permanently." "What about the Paralympics?" I traced the familiar curve of her shoulder. "Your dreams?" "Dreams change." She wouldn't meet my eyes. "The business needs me." I felt her slipping away, not just physically but emotionally. The scammers weren't just stealing money, they were stealing our future. My phone buzzed with a text from the bank. Another attempted withdrawal, this time using Natalie's information as verification. They were trying to drain both our accounts. "We need help," I decided. "Professional help. We can't afford not to." I sat up, determination replacing fear. "These people are destroying everything we've built." She was quiet for a long moment, fingers intertwined with mine. "I'm scared," she finally admitted, "not just of losing money, but of losing us." "Hey." I tilted her chin up. "Remember that first day at the lake? How stubborn we both were?" A small smile cracked through her worry. "You were impossible. We're still those same fighters." I kissed her softly, just with better reasons to win. The weekend ended too quickly. At the airport, our goodbye felt heavier than before. We both knew things had to change. "Promise me something," I said at security. "Promise you won't let them take your dreams." She squeezed my hand, a spark of the old Natalie showing through. "Promise you'll help me fight back?" "Always." Watching her walk away, I made silent plans. These scammers had picked the wrong couple to target. They didn't know about my secret weapon, a friend who specialized in cybersecurity. It was time to turn the hunters into the hunted. Sarah's cybersecurity office looked exactly like you'd expect. Walls of monitors displaying scrolling code, empty energy drink cans scattered around, and a woman who hadn't slept in what looked like days. "This is fascinating," she muttered, fingers flying across keyboards. "They're using AI to clone your video calls." I leaned forward, watching as she pulled up side-by-side comparisons of real and fake conversations between Natalie and me. The sophistication was terrifying. "See these micro-expressions?" She pointed to a frozen frame. "The AI replicates your facial movements, voice patterns, even your inside jokes." My stomach churned. Our most intimate moments had been harvested, analyzed, and weaponized against us. But here's where it gets interesting. Sarah pulled up a complex diagram. The scammers are routing everything through a company in California. California? My heart skipped. Where exactly? She named a city just 20 minutes from Natalie's family store. The coincidence felt too perfect to be random. When I called Natalie with this information, her silence spoke volumes. "There's more," she finally said. "Dad found some strange transactions. Large payments to a tech company we've never worked with." "What's the company name?" Her answer made my blood run cold. It matched the one Sarah had found. Over the next week, we dug deeper. Sarah tracked digital breadcrumbs while Natalie combed through years of business records. A pattern emerged. Someone had been setting this up for months. "The scammers didn't randomly target us," Sarah explained during a late-night strategy session. "They chose your family's business specifically." "But why?" I paced my living room, phone pressed to my ear as Natalie listened in. "We're not exactly a Fortune 500 company." "Because of me." Natalie's voice cracked. "My Paralympic profile. They used my public image to make their scams more convincing." The pieces started falling into place. The bankruptcy wasn't bad luck, it was engineered. The scammers had slowly drained the business, counting on Natalie's return to California to add credibility to their schemes. "They're using your reputation," Sarah confirmed. "A Paralympic athlete's family business in trouble? People want to help. They trust you." I remembered all the fake investment opportunities, the emotional manipulation in the scam messages. They'd counted on our love story to make their cons more effective. "We can catch them," Sarah said, excitement creeping into her tired voice. "But we'll need bait." The plan we crafted was risky. We'd feed the scammers exactly what they wanted. A very public announcement about the business's troubles, complete with emotional appeals from Natalie. "Once they take the bait," Sarah explained, "we can trace their real operations." Natalie hesitated. "Using my story, my disability, it feels wrong. They're already using it, I reminded her gently. Let's use it better. We spent days preparing, creating the perfect lure. Sarah set up untraceable accounts and monitoring systems. Everything had to look legitimate. Remember, Sarah warned, these people are professionals. One wrong move and they'll vanish. The night before we launched our counterattack, I couldn't sleep. The stakes felt impossibly high. Not just our money and reputations, but our future together hung in the balance. Natalie called at midnight. I'm scared, she admitted. What if this makes things worse? Then we'll face it together. I wished I could hold her. Like everything else. Together, she repeated softly. Even when we're apart. Dawn broke over Mesa, painting the sky in shades of hope. As I watched Sarah make the final preparations, I thought about that first day at the lake, how a simple fishing competition had led to this moment. Sometimes love means fighting back. Sometimes it means becoming the hunter instead of the prey. And sometimes it means trusting that what you're fighting for is worth every risk. The email arrived during my lunch break at the Disability Center. Natalie's name in my inbox usually brought joy, but this message felt like a punch to the gut. I'm staying in California permanently, she wrote. The business needs me more than swimming ever did. My hands shook as I read further. She'd withdrawn from Paralympic qualifying, citing family obligations. 20 years of competitive swimming ended with a simple email. This isn't you, I typed back. The Natalie I know wouldn't give up her dreams. Her response came hours later. Maybe you don't know me as well as you think. The words stung, but something felt off. The timing was too perfect, right when Sarah had traced significant activity from the scammers' network. I called Natalie's father directly, something we'd agreed to avoid during the investigation. Is she really quitting swimming? His confused pause told me everything. She's at the pool right now, training. Said you two had some plan? Relief flooded through me. The email was fake, another manipulation by our digital stalkers. But why now? Sarah's urgent text explained everything. They took the bait. Big money movement happening. Need Natalie to play along. The Paralympic qualifying event in Phoenix became our battleground. Natalie arrived as planned, but publicly announced her withdrawal during the opening ceremony. Family comes first, she told reporters, her voice carrying the perfect mix of regret and determination. Sometimes we have to sacrifice our dreams. Watching her lie to the cameras hurt, but we knew the scammers were watching too. Within hours, their network exploded with activity. They're rushing to capitalize on the story, Sarah reported. Setting up fake donation sites, investment schemes, everything we predicted. But something changed that night. In my apartment, away from the cameras and chaos, Natalie broke down. I can't keep pretending, she sobbed. Swimming isn't just my dream, it's who I am. I held her close, breathing in her familiar chlorine and sunshine scent. Then don't give it up, not even for show. But the plan can change. I wiped her tears away. We'll find another way. The next morning, Natalie marched into the qualifying event. Cameras flashed as she took her position on the starting block. What happened to retiring? A reporter shouted. She smiled directly into the cameras, knowing our targets would be watching. Changed my mind. Some things are worth fighting for. The race was beautiful. Every stroke, every turn showed why she was a champion. When she touched the wall first, setting a new personal record, the crowd erupted. I found her in the locker room afterward, still dripping from her victory. That wasn't part of the plan, I said, trying to sound stern. Plans change. She pulled me close, not caring about my now wet clothes. Like you said. Sarah's frantic call interrupted our moment. The scammers are panicking. Your performance spooked them. They're trying to move their operation. Good, Natalie said firmly. Let them run. I'm done hiding. That night, watching her sleep peacefully for the first time in weeks, I realized something important. We'd been so focused on catching the bad guys, we'd almost lost sight of what made us worth targeting in the first place. Our truth, our love, our dreams. I'm proud of you, I whispered, though she couldn't hear. Her unconscious smile suggested maybe she could. Champions, I realized, don't just win races. Sometimes they win by refusing to lose themselves. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The scammers were still out there, probably already planning their next move. But tonight, watching the moonlight paint silver streaks across Natalie's face, I knew we'd already won something more important than any investigation. We'd found our way back to ourselves and to each other. Sarah's call came at 3 a.m., her voice crackling with excitement. We got them. The scammers took the bait, all of it. I sat up in bed, instantly alert. Our trap had worked better than expected. The fake donation site for Natalie's retirement had attracted not just our targets but their entire network. They got sloppy, Sarah explained. Used the same servers to process everything. I've traced their whole operation. Dawn found us in Sarah's office, watching as she coordinated with cybercrime units across 3 states. The evidence was overwhelming. Years of scams, millions in stolen funds, hundreds of victims. Look at this, she pointed to a familiar name on her screen. The tech company near Natalie's family store was just a front. They targeted struggling businesses, then used their reputations for bigger scams. Natalie's voice was steady when I called her. How soon can you get to California? Already packing. The sting operation unfolded like a movie scene. FBI agents swarmed the fake tech company, while local police raided connected locations. Sarah's evidence had revealed a complex web of fraud stretching back years. I found Natalie outside her family's store, watching agents carry out boxes of evidence. The morning sun caught her hair, turning it to gold. They were using our storage space, she said quietly, right under our noses. The full story emerged in pieces. The scammers had infiltrated dozens of family businesses, creating financial crises they could exploit. Natalie's family was just their most ambitious target. Your Paralympic status made you valuable, an FBI agent explained. They thought they could use your reputation to attract bigger investments. The investigation revealed something else. The bankruptcy had been engineered from the start. Careful manipulation of accounts, strategic pressure on investors, all designed to bring Natalie home from Mesa. They didn't count on one thing, Sarah said, grinning as she showed us the final evidence. You two being so damn stubborn. Relief hit Natalie's father first. Watching him realize his business would survive brought tears to my eyes. He hugged us both, whispering thank yous. The celebration at the store that evening felt like exhaling after holding our breath for months. Staff members, local customers, even some of Natalie's swimming teammates gathered to share the good news. Speech, someone called out as champagne was passed around. Natalie pulled me close, addressing the crowd. When I came home, I thought I had to choose between my dreams and my family's legacy. She squeezed my hand. But someone reminded me that real love means fighting for both. The kiss we shared then felt like coming home, sweet, familiar, and full of promise. Cheers and whistles erupted around us, but we barely noticed. Later, we escaped to the store's roof. The California sunset painted the sky in shades of hope as Natalie showed me her childhood hiding spot. I used to come up here to dream about winning gold medals, she said, leaning against me. And now? Now I dream about our next fishing competition. She grinned. Think you can handle losing to me again? Tied, I corrected, pulling her closer. We tied. The stars began appearing above us, witnesses to another perfect moment. Below, we could hear the celebration continuing, life returning to normal. Ready to come home? I asked softly. She turned in my arms, eyes bright with tears and joy. I already am. The night wrapped around us like a promise. Sometimes victory isn't about catching the bad guys or saving the business. Sometimes it's about finding your way back to love, one brave choice at a time. And sometimes it's about realizing home isn't a place at all. It's a person, a feeling, a shared dream of what could be. Mesa welcomed Natalie back like a returning hero. The Disability Center organized a surprise party, complete with handmade banners from the kids in her swimming program. Welcome home, Coach Natalie, they shouted as we walked in. Their excitement was contagious, filling the room with pure joy. Watching her hug each child, I fell in love all over again. She remembered every name, every personal story, every small victory they'd shared before her departure. Tommy, you're still practicing those breathing exercises? She asked a shy 10-year-old. His proud nod made her beam. The center's director pulled us aside during the celebration. We've been thinking, she said, eyes twinkling. How would you two feel about running a specialized program? The proposal was perfect, combining Natalie's Paralympic experience with my volunteer coordination skills, a comprehensive sports program for disabled athletes, backed by the center's resources. We could train future Paralympians right here, Natalie whispered, excitement building in her voice. That night, we stayed late at the center, planning our new venture. The empty pool echoed with possibility as we sat dangling our feet in the water. Remember our first swimming lesson here? I asked, splashing her playfully. You were terrified of the deep end, she laughed. Now look at us. The program came together faster than we expected. Word spread through the disability community, bringing athletes from across the state. Each success story felt like a personal victory. Maria, a teenage amputee, qualified for her first swimming competition. James, born with cerebral palsy, discovered he was a natural at adaptive basketball. Every small triumph added to our growing family. One evening, during a community fundraiser, I watched Natalie demonstrate swimming techniques to a group of parents. Her passion radiated through every movement, every explanation. She's amazing, a mother said beside me, eyes wet with tears. My daughter never thought she could be an athlete until she met Natalie. The comment struck home. This wasn't just about sports. It was about showing people what was possible. About turning limitations into launching pads. Later that night, as we cleaned up after the event, Natalie caught me staring. What's on your mind? Just thinking about how far we've come. I helped her fold the last banner. From fighting over a fishing spot to changing lives. She pulled me into a dance, humming softly as we swayed between the pool lanes. Speaking of fishing, don't even think about claiming that spot again, I warned, but my smile gave me away. Wouldn't dream of it. She kissed me softly. I found something better to share. The center became our second home. We spent evenings planning competitions, weekends training athletes, and every spare moment building our dream together. During one particularly successful training session, a local news crew showed up. They wanted to do a story on our program, focusing on Natalie's journey from Paralympic athlete to community leader. And what about your personal life? The reporter asked, glancing between us. Any special someone? Natalie's answer made my heart soar. I found my champion right here, she said, taking my hand. Sometimes the best victories happen outside the pool. The story aired the following week, showcasing our program and our love story. Applications flooded in, along with support from unexpected places. Even my mother called, her voice softer than I'd heard in months. I saw the news piece, she said. You too. You're doing good work. It wasn't quite acceptance, but it was a start. That evening, watching the sunset from our favorite spot by the lake, Natalie and I dreamed bigger dreams about expanding the program, about helping more athletes find their strength. Think we can really do all this? I asked. She squeezed my hand, her eyes reflecting the fading light. Together, we can do anything. The water lapped gently at the shore, a rhythm like a heartbeat. Sometimes the best plans aren't the ones we make, but the ones that find us while we're busy fighting for what matters. 1 year to the day after our first meeting, I stood at our fishing spot on Lake Pleasant, heart racing. The morning air carried the same crispness, the water sparkled with the same promise. You're here early, Natalie called, approaching with her fishing gear. She looked stunning in the dawn light, her blonde hair catching the sun. Couldn't sleep, I admitted. Too excited about our anniversary fishing competition. She set up her equipment with practiced ease, a familiar dance we'd performed countless times. Ready to lose? Actually, I reached into my tackle box. I had something else in mind. The small box I pulled out wasn't designed for fishing lures. Natalie's breath caught as I opened it, revealing a simple platinum ring. Remember how we fought over this spot? I asked, my voice shaking slightly. How neither of us would back down. She nodded, tears already forming in her green eyes. That stubbornness led to the best thing in my life. I took her hand. And I want to be just as stubborn about keeping you forever. Before I could say more, she was laughing through her tears. Check your left pocket. Confused, I reached in and found a small velvet box. Inside, a ring nearly identical to the one I held. Great minds, she whispered, pulling me close. I was going to propose today, too. We stood there laughing, crying, holding each other as the sun painted the lake gold. Both rings found their homes on trembling fingers, both questions answered with passionate yeses. Think the fish are enjoying the show? I asked, wiping away happy tears. They better be. This is their fault, after all. We spent the morning not fishing, just sharing memories and dreams. The center's program was thriving, with 3 of our athletes qualifying for Paralympic trials. Natalie's family business had recovered fully, now partnering with adaptive sports organizations nationwide. "Remember what you said when we first met?" she asked, playing with my new ring. "About this being your spot?" "Vividly. You were so annoying." "Well," she stood, pulling something from her bag. "I made it official." The small plaque she held read, "Jessica and Natalie's spot, where love took the bait." "The park rangers helped me install it last week," she explained. "Technically against regulations, but they're suckers for a good love story." Overwhelmed, I pulled her into a kiss that tasted of joy and possibility. When we finally parted, she rested her forehead against mine. "So," she whispered, "ready for the next adventure?" "With you, always." We spent the rest of the day by the water, occasionally casting lines but mostly just being together. The future stretched before us like the lake, vast, beautiful, full of promise. As sunset approached, other anglers began arriving for evening fishing. Many recognized us from the news coverage of our program, offering congratulations when they spotted our rings. "You two started something special," an older man said, setting up nearby. "My granddaughter joined your swimming program last month. She can't stop talking about it." Natalie squeezed my hand. "Sometimes the best catches aren't fish." The day ended as it began, just us, the water, and endless possibility. We packed up our gear as stars began appearing overhead. "Same time tomorrow?" Natalie asked, echoing her words from a year ago. "Wouldn't miss it." I secured the new plaque, running my fingers over the engraved words, "Though I think we both won this spot." She kissed me softly, then grinned. "Race you to the car?" As we ran laughing through the twilight, I realized some stories don't need dramatic endings. Sometimes the perfect ending is just the beginning of something better. Love, like fishing, requires patience, skill, and a little bit of luck. But when you find the right spot, with the right person, it's worth every moment of waiting. And sometimes, the best catches come when you're willing to share your favorite fishing spot.